Hello everyone and welcome to Sutton's Days. Today is canning chat day. So exciting. This is going to be great. Some really great questions again this week. You guys just ask great questions and I love talking about canning. So it's kind of a win-win all the way around. But let's jump in and see what we've got. Linda Hutchinson, you are actually the inspiration for one of my recent canning videos. She asks, I've seen videos on canning chicken, pork, and beef, but I've never heard anyone talk about canning raw turkey. Is it not as safe? She loves turkey, doesn't want to think about turning on the oven to roast during the summer. She'd love to be able to grab jars. Okay, so I canned turkey, and if you check back on Friday, I will have the taste comparison for you. And I'll put the link down below to that video and an iCard up above. I canned ground turkey, raw turkey breast, and then par-cooked, hot-packed turkey breasts, okay? I did all three of them, so I'll do a taste comparison for you. I think what you need to keep in mind is what you're expecting to get out of the jar. So I love turkey. I love turkey. We'll throw it on the smoker in the summertime because I agree, turning on the oven really is not an optimal thing to do. But I've seen people actually put them on the grill. Yeah, good stuff. I don't know how. Okay, but you're gonna get shredded turkey, kind of like you do the ugly chicken. If you raw pack it, okay, so it'll be ugly turkey. If you par cook it, then you're gonna get, you know, the chunks, but it's still gonna fall apart very easily. It's not like you're cutting it off the turkey itself, right? So understand what the end product is going to be, but you can absolutely can turkey. So good. And we had some comments on that video. Be sure to read through the comments. Somebody just got done raw packing an entire bird, cut it off the bone and everything. A little more than I want to deal with for a video, but you can do it. Good luck. Danielle McLeod asks, I was wondering if you have a recipe for jam using stevia or other sugar alternative. I have used refined white and honey in the past, but need to watch my sugar intake. If not, is it something in the future you will be experimenting with? So Pomona pectin allows you to use lower sugar in your jams, okay? That's an option if you want to use lower sugar. If you want to remove sugar altogether and go with a sugar alternative, here's the catch. You can do it. I have not found any recipes saying that it's safe to can and put up on your shelf. And I think predominantly the reason is that they have not gotten it so that the artificial sweeteners or the stevia type sweeteners last for a long time on the shelf like sugar does. Also, one of the things that sugar does is it keeps the color. So if you put in that beautiful bright cherry red in the jar and you don't use real sugar, it'll dull, it'll get darker, it may seem less appetizing, so that may be part of the issue also. I don't see myself doing anything more than a low sugar using Pomona. I actually have a video somewhere on that. I think it's a blueberry jam, so I'll look for that link and I'll put it in the description box below. But I don't see myself doing it anytime in the near future, just because the results are not something that you can put up on your shelf for, you know, any length of time. If you're looking to put it in your fridge and use it, do it. Absolutely. Veronica Mendoza asks, I have a few number 10 cans of pizza sauce. Can I can those and for how long? So for this one, I'm going to go right to the National Center for Home Food Preservation. This is a very, very common question. And I'm going to put the link, down below, but, they're not recommending it. That's the easy answer. They don't recommend it. Okay. But there are some really good reasons why, people pick up, you know, number 10 cans because there's a really great deal on them or something like that. So this is why they say, not necessarily approved. They have no safe tested processes for this. Okay. And they're not sure that pre-canned food will distribute the heat the same as raw food, okay, or the first time canning. Excessively softened foods will pack more tightly into jars than what they initially did, which again comes up with a density issue. And if you underprocess it, it can lead to foodborne illness, or at the very least spoilage and loss of product. You definitely could not just transfer the food and seal the jar. That's common sense, I think. Anyway, they made another point that kind of makes sense. The expense and time of recanning foods far exceeds the cost savings of bulk or large quantity packaged foods. To recan food, you now add the expense of the jar, the lid, as well as the energy to recan it. Did you really save anything, you know? And most likely the quality of the food is going to be greatly reduced in canning. The food for this in canning it for the second time. The heat of canning does cause some loss of nutrients. So if you're doing that twice, that's twice the loss of nutrients, right? So they don't have any tested things to do it. It's not something that I do. I know that a lot of people do. If you are willing, you know, if you think it makes sense to do it, then definitely I would look it up on YouTube. There are people that have examples for it, but I don't recommend it pretty much for all the reasons that they say. Our food already has issues with nutrients, so I don't want to lose any more nutrition than is already taken out during the canning process and the storage process. And I'm so sorry. And I don't feel, just like they don't, that you're saving money. Once you factor in all that other stuff, and you know how I am with my time, I think my time is pretty valuable. So I don't think I've saved any money by doing this. You could just as easily take it, put it into sturdy freezer bags, and freeze it in portion sizes. Andrea asks, is there a way to label jars before they go in the canner? She tried doing it with a Sharpie marker, but it was gone at the end of processing. I remember somebody told me, I think it was Charlie, told me that I could write a Sharpie marker on the lid and it would be there when I got out of canning. I'm like, come on, really? And when I tried it, it worked. So I don't know. But I don't remember what I can. That may have something to do with it. It's something that I have often wanted to do myself. I ended up resorting to the position where they're in the canner, or what color band I put on them, you know, to distinguish between them. But for the most part, if a Sharpie marker doesn't work, I don't know of anything that will. I wish I had a better answer for you, but if anybody watching has any ideas, feel free, please, to throw them in the comment section below. Ooh, Joellen Brotzman, hope I got that right, asks if I've ever canned freshwater fish, such as northern pike, walleye, perch, and, you know, maybe it's the Norse in her, but it can't be worse than lutefisk. I'm not familiar with lutefisk, but the easy answer to this is absolutely I have. I have canned walleye. I have canned whitefish. I haven't done perch, but the whitefish and the walleye I have. Now, walleye lovers will say that that is pure sacrilege, but it was a use it or lose it kind of situation, and I threw it in a jar. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. We can salmon all the time. It's a coho salmon that we get. It's not from the ocean. So yeah, do it all the time. Highly recommend it. Watch your times, because you can only do it in pints or less, but it's always for 100 minutes. Thanks for asking. Linda Blair says, where can I find a list of foods acceptable for vacuum canning? I'm assuming that you mean vacuum sealing, okay? If I'm wrong, negate the whole thing and ask the question a different way. But if you're vacuum sealing, I guess this is one of those questions. I need more information. If you are vacuum sealing in bags to put them in the freezer, okay? Here are some things you don't do. Don't do raw mushrooms. Don't do garlic. Don't do soft cheeses like blue cheese, brie, ricotta, that kind of thing. Don't do fresh cooked or steamed vegetables. They're safe to vacuum seal after they're at room temperature. So if they're hot, don't put them in there, okay? In addition, I had to look some of this stuff up because it's not something I would do. In addition, many common vegetables emit a gas when stored, and they can get pretty nasty. They're very sulfurous. So the same rules apply as for canning. No broccoli, no Brussels sprouts, no cauliflower, no cabbage. Kale, radishes, and turnips, not good, okay? It says arugula and bok choy also. And the thing is that when you vacuum seal them, they need to be at room temperature. So they should not be fresh out of the garden. They need to come down to some room temperature. If you've cooked them, They need to come back to room temperature because it can harbor bacteria that when you vacuum seal, it says, woohoo, we have the perfect environment, okay? If that's what you mean, I hope. If not, throw me down another question and let me know. Dean the Cool. It's your second time. I got you, dude. I got you. So I boiled the canner dry my first go. I'm so sorry. The bottom bulges a tad. I've heard it's ruined. The elderly rebel canner across the street says it's fine. Is it? Oh, Dean. Okay, so when you're teaching a lot of people, you say it one way, okay? But if we were neighbors and you came across and you showed it to me and I could take a really good look at it, I might be able to give you a more accurate answer. That's what happens when you boil it dry. That's what happens when you get your canner dry, especially with the Presto. It does. It warps the bottom. So that can be a problem for sitting properly on the cooktop, and it could be a problem structurally. I don't have a great answer for you. My gut, because I don't see it, I don't know, and for safety purposes, I would say replace it. If you do try it, pull that rebel canner across the street over with you and have them walk through to make sure that everything is fine with the canner. But my gut says, unfortunately, you have to replace it. I'm sorry. Jess asks, can you add Worcestershire sauce to a broth when pressure canning? And could you come up with a list of what herbs and spices not to can or go easy with because they intensify and get better? Yes. Okay. So the Worcestershire sauce, you just want to hear me say that a couple times, don't you? The Worcestershire sauce, it's fine. You can put it in there. Just go light, go lighter than you would if you were cooking and eating it right there. Okay. There were no links that said don't use. Okay. So a lot of this comes from experience, like sage. Sage tends to turn bitter after you can it because everything that you can intensifies with the canning process. So that goes the same with herbs and spices and things like Worcestershire sauce, okay? If you're bent on doing it, okay, then do it very, very conservatively. Add a 1/4 teaspoon, okay? Because what happens is if you tell somebody, oh, yeah, you can add it, sure, then a lot of people think, oh, a teaspoon, if it's good on a teaspoon, then it's got to be great at 2 tablespoons, right? No, because it intensifies during canning. So if you really, really want to do it, go very, very light. Stay away from things like sage, bay leaves, basil sometimes gets a bit, ferocious. And if you use it very, very sparingly, okay? Those are probably the top ones that I can think of that I just don't even bother doing. To me, it's just as easy to add it when you crack open the jar. So I hope that this answers your question. Bonnie Mishevsky. I got it, didn't I? Yes. Okay, so in the first question, you talked a lot about things not being approved. The National Center for Home Food Preservation approves pressure canning beans only after having rehydrated, yet I've seen you can them dry without rehydration. To my knowledge, this is not approved. You are correct. Could you talk about what information helped you decide the dry method was something you are comfortable with? I love the ease of not soaking them, but want to fully understand the risk you're taking. So, previous very old videos, I canned beans the no soak method. It made sense to me, at the time. The more that I learned, the more that I went on. The reason why they don't approve dry beans, okay, is one of the reasons is because that dry bean, what they've tested, what they have done research on shows that a soaked bean that has then been boiled, that is adequate time for the heat to get through the jar, through the liquid, into the bean, all the way through, to kill any bacteria or, anything else going on. They have not done that with dry beans. As a matter of fact, they believe that it's not as easy in the time that we have for canning them, that we all can them at, which is the same as meat. But when I did it, my thought was that it's going to come out great. They still taste great. They're wonderful. I don't see an issue with it because they are cooked all the way through. But the more that I learned, like I said, was the heat in there at the time necessary? Now, am I still here today after canning hundreds of jars of dried beans? Yes, I am here today. It is easier. What I have learned and why I no longer do it is because I started canning it by soaking it. I soak them for 12 to 16 hours, and then I rinse them really good. And if it's my baked bean recipe, then I throw them in the pot with all the stuff and do my thing. Or I'll divide them up into the jars and add the liquid. But soaking them, to me, gives them enough. Now, one of the things that you ran into, I think it was you, is that the beans expanded still. Even after soaked, they expand. And this is the case. Beans are finicky little buggers. And so it really behooves us to pay attention because things like lima beans, things like pinto beans, okay? When you put those in the jar, dry or after they've soaked, they are going to continue to expand. So you really have to know how much to put into that jar. They really, really expand. Now, black beans don't expand as much. So you can actually put more black beans in a jar than you can pinto beans. And I'm talking right now, this is across the board, whether you're dry canning it or whether you're doing it the approved method, okay? They are still going to expand. Depending on the bean, it will vary on how much they expand. So that's going to take some caution on your side. It is easier to do no soaking, theoretically, right? But honestly, that end product, when you soak them for 12 to 16 hours, yeah, they're awesome. They're really, really good. I like them so much better. They are not mushy at all. So not being a huge mushy bean fan, you know, that was important to me. I'm really impressed. So, you know, if you're used to doing it, soaking it, I encourage you to keep doing it, soaking it. You're not really shaving that much time. You know the night before most of the time that you're going to can beans. Throw them in some water. Easy peasy. Brenda Lears had a very, very similar question. I kind of accidentally confused the two. I recently canned a mixture of dry beans to use for chili, 3 kinds together. I did the overnight soak for at least 12 hours, thinking they would not swell anymore. And then she filled the jars to an inch headspace. Way too many beans in a jar. Way too many beans in a jar. Had a lot of siphoning, leaving about 2 inches of beans out of water. I heard another popular canner on YouTube say they're not safe if that happens. I don't know if they're not safe, but I know that what they've done is during the canning process, number one, you had the siphoning, and number two, they have sucked up any liquid that was in there. Way too many beans in those jars. So for the cost of beans, I'd probably pitch them to be on the safe side. I'm still of the mind that if they sealed, they're good, but it really, you know, it's up to you to make that judgment call. You can't smell if they're bad, so don't bother smelling them. But it's a judgment call on your part, and I kind of follow the rule, you know, when in doubt, throw it out. Beans are not that expensive. You can do it again, but you definitely want to refer to the National Center for Home Food Preservation. You know, you soaked them, you did your thing, but you filled those jars up like twice as much what they needed to be filled. So that would be the issue in and of itself, okay? So for this, in this case, I would probably just say, yeah, gotta go, bye. Debbie Anklam asks, what's the ideal temp for a pantry? What is too hot and what is too cold? The ideal temp for your pantry in Utopia is between 50 degrees and 75 degrees. Cool, dark, and dry, okay? Now, if you don't have air conditioning, it's probably going to get over 75 sometimes. Hopefully, it never gets under 50, or definitely not under 40. But 50 to 75 is the ideal temperature for your pantry. Don't stress if it gets hotter. Folks that live in California, Arizona, New Mexico, that kind of thing, it gets hotter. I get it. Sometimes it gets hotter here, but we keep it cool and we keep it dark and we keep it dry to the best of our abilities so that nothing goes wrong in there. As it gets hotter, it may shorten the shelf life, you know, of the food, but not to any great extent. If you're looking at 1, 2, 3 years, you're still good. Don't stress about it, but definitely your goal target is between 50 and 75 degrees. So these are the questions that I had for this week. I hope that you guys enjoyed the pantry chat. Be sure to check out all the stuff down below. Be sure to check out the comments. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I will start collecting those up for next week's canning chat. I love canning chat, you guys. You have no idea how happy this makes me to sit down and talk canning with you guys. I truly, truly love it. And I hope that you do too. Remember, if you like what we do here, please hit that like, subscribe, and share. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook. And until the next time, be safe.